Okay, let's do it. Hello, everyone. Let us know if you're watching live or if you're watching on replay. I'm just trying to get the interwebs to do the things. I realise I sound so old when I say that. Anyways, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Heidi Mavir. I'm the founder of EOTAS Matters. We work supporting parents and carers of neurodivergent kids, particularly those who have barriers to attendance, to unlock support for their children and young people in the education system in England. And we do that predominantly through EHCP's Education, Health and Care Plan. And over the last few months and the coming months, I am putting people in front of you who are doing amazing work in the field of special educational needs and disabilities, advocacy, neurodivergence, mental health, and parenting support. And my amazing friend Sam is here to talk today about some of the work that she does supporting families of children and young people with BDD. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
That's all right. I'm so glad you're here. Sam and I know each other quite well, so if it gets a bit informal, that's why. We try to break each other's algorithm on a regular basis. That's one of our competitions that we set ourselves. So I'm winning currently. Sam's algorithm is flooded with all kinds of weirdness because I keep sending her things to click on. Anyways, so let's do a little bit of background. Do you want to tell people, and while you're doing this, if I look distracted just because I'm sharing it places, tell people a little bit about your background and how you've ended up here today. Let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Sam Milburn, pronouns are she, her, and I am a parent of neurodivergent child. And over the years, we've been through lots of different challenges, like many of us have. And I ended up supporting my young person with something called body dysmorphic disorder. Now, I didn't even know what it was like until it came up. It took quite a lot of investigating and gone through years of the support around it, years of that whole element of trying to get education, while your child's off long-term sick, how all of that works. So many hoops to jump through when you're in such a emotionally distressing place, both of you, that sort of coming almost out the other side of it and finding other parents in similar positions, and with my innate kind of personality, which is like, if I find a way through something, I feel like I have a responsibility to help other people find a way through. I decided to set up Beyond BDD, which is an online platform which supports parents, carers, and professionals. Because this isn't just parents either. This is, TA assistants, teachers, other therapists, and people who don't really understand BDD very well, and just supporting them on that journey, with sort of resources and information. Going to have workshops and things coming out soon as well, just so that they don't feel so stuck and isolated and alone, because it is quite niche. It is quite not as well known, even though it's as big as OCD, anorexia, all of those kind of things. There's just as many people in the world with that as there are those conditions, but it's just not talked about as much because it doesn't tend to get picked up usually until sort of like very late teens, early 20s.
Right. And is it a kind of OCD?
It's actually a subset of OCD. So in the diagnostic manual, it comes under OCD. So right. When this is the thing, you see quite often people might recognize the term body dysmorphia, which is something you see a lot in social media and on TV. Celebrities might talk about having it, and body dysmorphia and body dysmorphic disorder, sometimes they do mean the same thing, but not always. Sometimes people talk about body dysmorphia as a general kind of dissatisfaction or dislike around your body, not feeling very body confident and all the rest of it. Whereas body dysmorphic disorder has got much more OCD elements in it. So there's lots of repetitiveness, lots of things that someone has to do. And the difference being that with body dysmorphic disorder, it's a perceived flaw. So it isn't necessarily something that anybody else can see. So for example, I might think that my nose is really big. I cannot, I'm constantly trying to make it smaller by contouring or, doing all these different things, covering it up with a mask. Some people can end up like really hurting themselves. But what it is, it's a visual distortion. They actually have a visual distortion in the brain. They've picked it up on brain scans more recent research. So it's not something that you can fix visually and make different, because it won't be different. The distortion.
Yeah, amazing. So you have a young person who has BDD, and you now do work supporting people to understand BDD a bit more. What comes up the most when you're speaking to people? Like, what is there a type of family or a type of parent who finds their way to you? Like, what do you see most often?
Most often I see parents initially just seeing kind of normal teenager behaviours, because this is when it starts, sort of like around 11 maybe 11 or 12, and maybe from like 10, 11, 12 they're kind of going through these experiences where they're not happy about something, and you might not necessarily recognize what that is straight away, but you'll know that they're spending more time trying to get ready, and you're not really sure why, but you just, it's teenage years, isn't it? You know, we've all been there. And to be fair, at one point or another, and even now as an adult, you know, I might spend an hour trying on 50 different outfits because I don't feel quite right. We all go through things like that, and teenagers do as well, so it's difficult to pick that apart. So that what I see is the most common thing, and this is the resource I have on my website, because it's the most common thing that parents see, is the reassurance seeking. And that is a child constantly asking over and over and over again. Now, I have to be clear, this isn't all children, because this wasn't my experience, but it's a real common experience. That's constantly asking over and over again. Does it look okay? Does it look different today? Has it got bigger? Has it got smaller? Can we try this? Can we try that? Have you bought this thing yet? Can we try this thing? And it's just constantly trying to get reassurance that everything's okay. That tends to be the trigger for, okay, something's not quite right here. And I'd also couple that with neurodivergence. And even though there isn't enough research having been done in this area, I've spoken to the Maudsley, which is the OCD and BDD NHS specialist hospital in London, and with their teenagers there, a very high proportion of them are neurodivergent. It's like 90%, like an estimate, for example. And so I think more research needs to be done, but I do think that there is a high correlation there with, you've got the visual distortion, so that's like a processing, you know, like a visual processing problem. You've got the hyper focus, you know, it all kind of makes sense. So I do think there are things that you need to be, if you've got a parent of a neurodivergent child, I think there are things you need to be aware of when it comes to BDD and OCD, that they can be, these kind of behaviours, we call them, or that we see, can be fed and made bigger if we don't try and catch it soon. So that's what I try and do, the awareness work around it, so people can recognise it and just be aware that that might be happening.
How did you, did that look like for you with your young person, without sharing too much of their story, because we're not going to like infringe on their privacy? But when did you realise this was not just a bit of teen insecurity? When did you think there's something else going on here?
I think it was the real lack of motivation to want to go out and do the things that they used to enjoy doing. And that's when it really tipped over, and it went very quick from lacking the motivation to push through so they could go and do those things they really enjoyed, to being completely housebound. And that time frame was actually quite short, and it's quite shockingly short. So that tipping point for us, some children don't ever become housebound, but being housebound is a very big thing, is a very big part of it too. And then the meltdowns as well, if you like. And again, it's another layer to it, because that's very difficult, because if you've got a neurodivergent child, you're probably very used to the term meltdown, right? You know, you don't need to explain what a meltdown looks like in a neurodivergent. If you're a SEN parent, you know, you understand, right? And so differentiating between what's just like having a meltdown because it's been a really, really tough day, to having a meltdown because of the BDD specifically, was difficult. But I would say like things like meltdowns increasing, the lack in the motivation to want to go out.
So the impact on the mental health was what kind of And that's a fairly common experience. Yeah, that's
Very
like,
common.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, it would
Right.
be the recommended treatment, and this is only recommended, and there's lots of things that I'd like to say on it, but we haven't got time. The recommended treatment is medication, so SSRIs specifically, which, you know, in my experience, I'm on them now. Like, I'm always very open and honest about being on SSRIs, and they help me. But SSRIs, because it just takes that edge off for a child to be more open to talking about it. Because of course, as far as they're concerned, they don't need therapy. They don't need to talk about this. They just need to fix this thing and everything will be okay. So you've got that massive hill to climb before you can even get them to talk to someone and open up to someone. And the more you try and tell them, but it's BDD, the more you'll get that pushback. So the medication just helps take the edge off a bit, so they're more prepared and open to listen. And then CBT and ERP is recommended as the NHS choice.
Just give me some acronym. I know that SSRIs are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I had to Google it because I can never remember. But basically antidepressants, right? That's what SSRIs are.
Yeah.
I'm in the SNRI club, and slightly different variation.
Very nice.
But I've been on SSRIs before. And talk to me about CBT, and what was the other thing you mentioned?
ERP. So ERP is exposure response prevention, and this is used in OCD as well. So if anyone here listening has, you know, been through therapy of OCD, they may well know this already. But you basically expose yourself gradually and carefully to the things that cause the anxiety over the OCD type behaviours. And the idea is that over a period of time, you can get your body to adjust and adapt and understand that you're not going to sit in that anxiety forever, and it does come down. And I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, especially if you're dealing with a neurodivergent child, you need someone who is extremely, extremely experienced in neurodivergency with ERP. And this is something that I say a lot to the parents that I work with, that you have a choice about what therapist your child sees. And if your child is seeing a therapist through the NHS who does not have BDD experience, but they say they've got OCD experience, does not have BDD experience, does not have that combined with neurodivergency, I would ask for an immediate referral to the specialist centre. Because under the guidelines, they're entitled to a specialist. And more harm can be done than good if you don't find
that applies to a lot of, you know, like if you're under, you know, your local CAMS service and you're not getting that level of understanding that you feel that your child or young person needs. Always, you know, because mental health professionals don't know everything about every mental health condition. And you know, certainly, I know we see this with children who experience emotional-based school avoidance. You know, like there's this kind of like Senko will suggest a period of exposure therapy, and by which they mean force them in, push them through, and teach them how to mask and assimilate. That's not what proper exposure therapy does. Absolutely. It's about holding space for thinking about what's going on and being able to be with your young person whilst they're experiencing that distress and keeping them safe and helping them to work through it, right? And that needs someone who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely, you know, and you know your child better than anyone else. We were very lucky to get a very experienced, like the consultant clinician, so like the head of the department, who helped us for like a year and a half. And she really recognised, like, you might, for example, say your child has issues with their hair, or something, you know, something where they're constantly readjusting. Okay, so that's an OCD behaviour that we want them to try and feel like they don't feel like they have to do it constantly. But maybe they're adjusting things as well because it's sensory, so it's irritating them. Okay, and so a good therapist will ask the questions to understand the difference instead of just assuming. They'll say, you know, are you doing that because you want to check it, or is that annoying you right now? They'll be asking, And because exactly that, you don't want to be doing ERP on behaviours like stimming, you know, all those things that they do to help them self-regulate.
Self-soothing, yeah, exactly.
Self-soothing, absolutely. That's not the kind of thing you want to get rid of. You know, I'm not trying to make my child feel comfortable in like clothes and things that he doesn't find comfortable. That just isn't what it's about. So yeah, that's why it's important. 100%.
Amazing. So talk to me about what you've got coming up. I know that we mentioned that. I know that you are the queen of all good things on websites and stuff. So in Sam's other life, you're still trying to be a counsellor, right? You're in the process of doing the counselling qualification.
Yeah.
And then she's also a digital marketing whiz, queen of SEO, so queen of search engine optimization. I was going to say operation.
You did.
So she's got a really good website called beyondddd.co.uk. And I know there's lots of good information on there, and you've got some freebies on there. You've got a guide to BDD. You've got a tool to help parents understand how to manage that kind of like reassurance seeking. Yes. How to kind of handle that, and how to make sure that you're supporting your child in a way that isn't adding to their distress or like diminishing their difficulties. What else are you working on? What else is coming from Beyond DDD?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be doing some workshops as well to help parents who are maybe at those beginning stages where they're not quite sure, but they can come and learn more about it. I'm also going to do some workshop for parents who are sort of in the throes of it, and hoping to have some other experts and things come in and talk to us. A lot of the parents, I have got a Facebook group as well, which you can find on the homepage of Beyond BDD. So if you're concerned or you're on that journey right now, you can come in and talk to us in there. There's other good resources and links in there too. I've also got my mind just went blank. I was on a roll then. I've got a book coming out. I've got a short book coming out that I'm writing with an amazing author at the moment. That's hopefully going to be out by later this year, but I'm working on, it's only 4 chapters. It's like a really, really short book, but it's very powerful. He's a brilliant writer. And I feel like I'm going to end up taking credit for this book, but it's not. It's a joint author thing. So it's kind of like my story, but he's like so good at putting the emotion and the feeling, and getting the reader to feel what you want them to feel in the book. It's incredible. So that's coming out. And yeah, my mind's gone blank.
That's enough to be going on with, right? That'll keep us busy.
And a podcast. I am going to have a podcast coming out as well. I've got quite a few people in the mental health space that want to come and talk on the podcast. So that's coming out as well as like an extra resource for people.
Amazing. So you're all over the socials. I mean that in the nicest possible way. People can search for Beyond DDD, and also if they search by your name, they'll find you as well, right? Sam Milburn, Milburn. Go and get a copy, get your hands on Sam's bits and pieces. It's an additional service she's offering.
I mean, I'm happy, like, I need the money, so.
Go and get Sam's freebie, is what I was actually saying there, from her website, and go and join the Facebook group, and come and get in amongst it. If you feel that your child or young person, just quickly, if you don't mind me asking, if you are concerned that your child or young person might be starting to display obsessive behaviors around particularly the way their body looks, what's the first thing to do, Sam? They should come and find you on beyondbdd.co.uk, but what's the route? Is it a GP in the first instance? Is that the best thing to do?
It's getting the referral to CAMS. So what you want is a diagnosis from a psychiatrist, because what tends to happen is you may be kind of, I don't want to say gaslighted because that's quite mean, but it doesn't happen all the time. But
you can say that. That's probably also accurate.
You may be told that they're anxious, they might just need some therapy for being anxious or depressed or sad or, and put to the bottom of the list. I would go in with sort of a checklist of all the different, on my website under what it is body dysmorphic disorder. It's got all the different key elements that come up with the diagnosis. So write those down, take it to the GP, take it to the school, wherever you can get your referral to CAMHS, to get that diagnosis from a psychiatrist so that it then can be treated appropriately. And go and speak to someone at the school, because if it's affecting school, go and speak to the head of CERN or something like that. There's another website called the BDD Foundation. They've got downloads for schools that you can take in and show to the school and say, I think my child has this. We're going for a referral. We're struggling to get in the mornings because you're probably finding that you're getting into school later and later. Go and give them that so that they're aware, and put everything in writing.
Thank you for that. Please go and find Sam. She is an absolute wealth of knowledge, and she does such amazing work within our community. And I think that there are probably a lot of parents and carers who may have a BDD in their home and aren't yet aware of it, because it's pretty common. As you said, it's as common as OCD within our neurodivergent children and young people especially. So go find Sam, go and follow her, go and get your hands on her bits and pieces, and we will make sure that you are kept up to date with everything that she's doing. Thank you for joining me, Sam. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.